Hello and welcome. This is a video tutorial about weight painting by hand or manually in Blender. The way I do it is by painting, then posing, back to painting, etc. This is not the most efficient way to do it, but it is my preference for it saves me lots of time. Weight painting a character is always a challenge and it is a difficult one. But once you understand how weight painting works, it becomes easier. From there, it will be a matter of taking your time and being patient. As you can see, I have 3 characters. To start with, I begin with Lewis because he is easier to deal with. Lewis has upper, lower, feet and head body parts. You can either join them all together, then separate them after weight painting, or separate them first and weight paint each part separately. I will choose to separate them into parts. After that, I start with the feet. I paint the feet red fully for the toe and foot bones. Then I use the weight gradient tool. There are 2 modes, linear and radial. Linear is always a straight line. Radial is like a circle, or like a radius. Both have its advantages. With the brush curve graph, you can also get different results. I set it to smooth as it is the default and it's enough for this case. I paint them both red, then decrease the weights from both bones individually and on the opposite sides. As you can see, I position the view to align the vertices in a way that all vertices will be affected by the weight gradient as I look from different directions. This is important to remember. After that, I move on to the knees, hips and then pelvis. I will do the same method. Paint it all red and then gradient decrease for all. When I do weight gradient, I often use the clean option and set the value to 0.001 for all groups. This is an important feature of Blender as it helps us clean up leftover weight painting in areas that you might not even notice that you might have accidentally rigged. Furthermore, in Source Engine, a vertex can only have maximum of 3 bone influences, which means one vertex can be rigged to 3 bones at once, but not more. The cleanup option allows us to delimit it to exactly only 3 bones. As you might notice, I did one side of the character because it is symmetrical mesh and for the sake of saving time and effort. What I do next is copy the vertex groups, rename them, and remove the unneeded weight on them all. For example, I copied the right knee vertex group. I rename it to the left knee vertex group. Then I select the left knee, remove the right knee weighting entirely, then I go back to the original right knee vertex group and remove all the left knee weighting from that group. Very simple. For the pelvis, I start to weight paint red to some extent. Closer, but not too close to the knee. I decrease the weights accordingly from both sides as I see fit. For the hip bones, right and left, I remove half of the previously painted weights, but I keep the red in the middle of the leg. Select the vertices and smooth the weights a couple of times. Decrease the weight, pose, decrease the weight again until it looks good enough for deformation. And with that, the lower part is now done. When I am done with weight painting, I do the clean option for all groups, and then I hit the Normalize All option with the Lock Active box unticked for all groups. The Normalize All option is enough to balance the weight paint across the entire model. Now to the upper part of the body, from the pelvis through the spines to the shoulders and arms. For this particular approach, I chose Vertex Selection mode to weight paint only the pelvis and spine. I paint it again all red and then decrease accordingly as I see fit. I press B to use the select box as a guide to where I should decrease to. I weight paint the shoulder and add some more weights to the upper part of the arms, but leave the lower arm for last. I smooth the vertices a couple of times from both shoulders and arms. Then I begin to decrease the weight slowly using both linear and radial weight gradients. It is a very tricky approach, but eventually it'll work. Then I pose the bones and decrease the weights where I see it doesn't look good. I keep doing that until it does look good enough. Then I decrease the weights on the spine until the arm doesn't take up too much weights off the spine. Next, let's move on to the arms. Upper arms comes down to smoothing the vertices a couple of times, increasing the selection once or maybe twice, smoothing again a few times, then decreasing the weight paints where you see fit. For most, this might be difficult. However, I found a way to solve part of this challenge. If your character's models have seams along the arms, you can use those seams as a guide to where you want to paint your mesh red and then smooth vertices from that point on. Onto the lower arm. The weight gradient tool works from any angle in 2D space. It paints the front and the back from whatever angle I look at, so I position myself so I can paint the entire arm in one go. Like any other body part, I begin with painting the entire thing red and then decrease the weights with a linear gradient again from top and bottom of the arm accordingly. Let's do the spine, neck and head now. Obviously, I repeat the same method. Paint it all red, decrease or increase weights where I see fit, pose the model, and then fine-tune until it deforms properly. It might be a little bit challenging because you want it to move like a human, or in some cases like a cartoon character, which I actually kind of prefer because the cartoony style fascinates me. I like to take it to an exaggerated level, but I could not find any other tutorials that explain that to me in any clear way, so I'm making my own. And now you're done. I hope this guide taught you the idea of how to weight paint any character you might come across, no matter how painful it might be. But remember, pain is mandatory. Again, thank you for Mr. Funreal for your help. You're welcome. And with that, the video is over. See you guys next time. Bye.